The evening air is heavy with the scent of old parchment and the sharp, metallic tang of cold iron as we begin our journey together into the depths of a story long forgotten by the waking world. Close your eyes now and let the boundaries of your room dissolve into the mist of history, where the flickering light of a single candle illuminates the face of a man who believed he could reshape the very earth with the sheer force of his will. We find ourselves in a room draped in heavy velvet, the deep crimson of a setting sun, where maps of the world are spread across a massive oak table like the skin of a fallen giant. Here stands Napoleon, a figure carved from ambition and the restless fire of a spirit that refused to acknowledge the word no. You can hear the rhythmic scratching of his quill against the paper, a sound like a heartbeat, steady and relentless, as he draws lines across mountains and rivers, claiming the unknown for his own. He leans forward, the light catching the intensity in his gaze, and in a voice that carries the weight of 1,000 battles, he speaks the words that have echoed through the centuries to find you here tonight. Impossible is a word to be found only in the dictionary of fools. Feel the resonance of that sentence as it ripples through the air, a challenge to the heavens themselves, a declaration that the human spirit is a storm that no wall can contain. The wind howls outside the stone walls of the palace, a mournful sound that speaks of the vast, frozen plains and the endless reaches of the sea. Yet, inside this room, there is only the absolute certainty of a man who sees the world as a puzzle to be solved and a kingdom to be won. He does not see the shadows lengthening across the floor or the way the candle flickers as it burns down to the wick. He sees only the horizon, that thin line where the earth meets the sky, and he believes it is his to reach. The silk of his maps rustles softly under his hands, a sound like the whispering of ghosts, reminding us that every empire begins as a dream, and every dream is fueled by the refusal to accept the limits of the possible. Imagine the weight of his coat, heavy with gold braid and the dust of 12 nations, and the way his boots echo on the cold marble floor as he paces, a caged lion seeking the path to a glory that never ends. There is a magnificent, terrible beauty in this kind of fire. The fire that drives a person to cross the Alps in the dead of winter, or to stand alone against the tide of time, believing that the word impossible is merely a shadow that vanishes when the light of the will is turned upon it. The air in this room is thick with the scent of old books and the faint, lingering aroma of gunpowder from a distant front, a reminder that the cost of conquering the impossible is often measured in the quiet moments of reflection before the storm breaks. As you breathe in, let the image of this candlelit study become more vivid, the way the golden light dances on the gilded frames of the paintings, and the way the maps seem to pulse with a life of their mind. Napoleon's hand rests upon a globe, his fingers tracing the contours of the continents, as if he could feel the pulse of the earth itself. And in this moment, there is no failure, no defeat, and no end to what can be achieved. It is the height of human ego transformed into a kind of poetry, a song of the self that refuses to be silenced by the reality of the physical world. You can almost feel the cold wind of the mountain passes on your skin and hear the distant thunder of 1,000 horses. Yet here, in the stillness of the prose, we are simply observers of a monumental thirst for existence. The maps are stained with the ink of 1,000 decisions, each stroke of the pen a decree that alters the fate of millions. And yet, in the center of it all, is a man who is as much a prisoner of his own greatness as he is the master of it. He looks out the window at the stars, those distant, unreachable points of light, and for a fleeting second, he wonders if they too are part of the dictionary he has discarded. But the moment passes, and the fire returns to his eyes. For to the fool, the stars are impossible, but to the conqueror, they are merely the next campaign. Let the rhythm of his pacing become the rhythm of your own heart, a steady, hypnotic beat that carries you deeper into the story, away from the noise of the present and into the silent corridors of the past. The room is growing darker now as the candle burns lower, and the shadows begin to dance more wildly against the walls, taking on the shapes of soldiers and kings, of triumphs and tragedies yet to come. But he does not notice the dark, for he is blinded by the brilliance of his own vision, a vision where the world is a canvas and his will is the brush. This is the legend of the unyielding spirit, the story of the one who says that the word impossible is a lie told by the weak to justify their stillness. As the maps are rolled up and the quill is laid to rest, the silence that follows is not a void, but a presence, heavy with the potential of a tomorrow that has already been conquered in the mind. The scent of the wax and the old wood lingers in the air, a sensory bridge between the ambition of the past and the quiet reflection of the evening. We are standing at the threshold of a great mountain, looking up at the peaks that disappear into the clouds, and we hear that voice once more, a whisper now, echoing through the halls of time, telling us that there are no limits, only horizons that haven't been reached. The fire in the hearth has settled into a deep, glowing red, casting a warm light over the room, and for a moment, the world feels small enough to be held in the palm of a hand. This is the atmosphere of the grand pursuit, the high-altitude air of the mountain climber who refuses to look down, the scent of the sea before a voyage into the unknown. We linger here in the presence of this historical ghost, feeling the vibration of his certainty, a certainty that is both a shield and a burden. The maps are silent, the ink is dry, and the world waits outside the door, vast and indifferent, yet transformed by the belief that nothing is beyond the reach of the one who dares to dream without fear. As we prepare to leave this room of silk and stone, let the image of the flickering candle stay with you, a symbol of the light that burns within every heart that seeks to overcome the impossible. Before we turn our gaze toward the modern world and the echoes of this ancient fire in our own lives, the silence is deep, the night is long, and the story is only just beginning to unfold in the quiet spaces between your thoughts. As the echoes of Napoleon's boots fade into the stone corridors of history, the flickering candlelight of the past begins to merge with the glowing screens and humming neon of our modern world. We carry that same fire within us now, but the maps have changed from parchment to digital grids, and the empires we seek to conquer are no longer made of land, but of time, status, and the endless pursuit of more. You can feel it in the quiet moments of the evening, that low-frequency hum of a mind that cannot find the off switch, a heart that has been taught that to rest is to fail. We have taken the conqueror's creed and woven it into the very fabric of our daily lives, whispering to ourselves that if we only push harder, sleep less, and master the impossible, we will finally arrive at a place of peace. But the peace never seems to come, does it? It remains a shimmering mirage on a distant horizon, always a few steps beyond the next deadline, the next promotion, or the next self-improvement goal. The weight you feel in your shoulders as you lie there tonight is the weight of 1,000 small conquests, the burden of a culture that views the dictionary of fools as a manual for survival. We live in a landscape of infinite possibility, yet we often feel more trapped than ever, held captive by the belief that our worth is measured by our output and that every moment must be optimized for success. Imagine the internal landscape of a modern soul, a bustling city that never sleeps, where the traffic of thoughts is never-ending and the sirens of anxiety wail in the distance. We are told that we can be anything, do anything, and have anything, if only we have the will to seize it. And so we march on, crossing our own internal Alps in the dead of winter, driven by a ghost that looks remarkably like Napoleon, but wears the face of our own expectations. The smell of the old maps is replaced by the sterile scent of office air and the faint bitterness of cold coffee, symbols of a life lived in the service of the next mountain. Let yourself acknowledge the exhaustion of this constant striving, the way the mind loops over the same problems, like a record caught in a groove, trying to solve the impossible equation of a perfect life. We have become architects of our own pressure, building monuments to our ambition that eventually block out the sun. The silence of the night can feel uncomfortable because it lacks the distraction of the battle. And in that silence, we are forced to confront the reality that the fire which drives us is the same fire that threatens to burn us out. You might find your thoughts drifting back to the day's tasks, the emails left unanswered, the conversations you wish you had handled differently, each one a tiny territory you are still trying to conquer in your sleep. This is the Western mirror, reflecting back a face that is weary from the search for a victory that has no end. We are taught to fear the word impossible, to see it as a wall that must be smashed, but we rarely stop to ask if the wall was there to protect something precious within us. The pressure to be exceptional, to be productive, and to be bulletproof has turned the simple act of existing into a competitive sport. Feel the tension in your jaw and the tightness in your chest, the physical manifestations of a spirit that is always leaning forward into the future, never fully grounded in the now. We are like the soldiers in Napoleon's Grand Army, marching toward a glory that feels increasingly hollow the closer we get to it. The dictionary of fools has become our Bible, and in our refusal to be foolish, we have forgotten how to be still. The world demands that we be masters of our fate and captains of our souls, but it fails to mention that even the greatest captain needs to drop anchor and listen to the waves. As you listen to these words, let the realization wash over you that you have been fighting a war for a long time, a war against your own limitations, a war against the natural ebb and flow of life. The hustle, the grind, the relentless pursuit of the impossible, it all takes a toll on the delicate architecture of the spirit. We have forgotten the scent of the rain and the feeling of the grass beneath our feet because we are too busy looking at the stars and wondering how to own them. The modern struggle is a silent one, fought in the quiet hours of the night when the world is dark and the only voice we hear is the one telling us that we aren't doing enough. Let that voice drift away for a moment, like a piece of paper caught in a breeze, moving further and further into the distance until it is just a speck on the horizon. The pressure to conquer the impossible is a heavy cloak, and tonight you have permission to unbutton it and let it fall to the floor. You do not need to be a conqueror in this space. You do not need to be the master of anything but your own breath. The lights of the city outside are beautiful, but they are not yours to manage. The tasks of tomorrow are waiting, but they do not define your existence in this present moment. We are exploring the cost of the will, the price of the fire, and the deep, aching need for a different kind of strength. A strength that doesn't come from winning, but from stopping. The air around you is cool and still, a stark contrast to the heat of the day's ambitions. Let your mind begin to soften, like wax near a flame, as you realize that the most impossible task of all might simply be to do nothing and feel that it is enough. We are transitioning now, leaving the battlefield of the ego and the high-pressure corridors of the modern mind, moving toward a clearing in the forest where the noise of the world cannot reach. The legend of the conqueror is a powerful one, but it is only half of the story. The other half is found in the spaces between the words, in the silence after the speech is over, and in the heart that knows how to beat without asking for permission. Let the thoughts of success and failure, of possible and impossible, begin to blur into a soft, grey mist. There is no one to impress here, no goals to meet, and no maps to follow. You are simply a traveler in the night, moving from the heat of the fire toward the coolness of the moon. The struggle is real, but it is not permanent. The pressure is felt, but it is not who you are. As we move deeper into the night, we prepare to encounter a different kind of wisdom, one that doesn't ask us to change the world, but to change the way we see it. The fire is settling into embers, the maps are being folded away, and the room is finally, blessedly, quiet. From the exhausted heat of the modern battlefield, We step away from the noise and into a garden where the air is scented with jasmine and the sound of a distant stream provides the only rhythm. In this space, the fire of Napoleon's ambition meets the cool, clear water of a different kind of mastery. Imagine, if you will, the Buddha seated beneath the sprawling branches of the Bodhi tree, not as a conqueror of nations, but as a conqueror of the self. While the world outside cries out that the impossible must be overcome with force, the teacher in the garden suggests that the greatest victories are won not by tightening our grip, but by opening our hands. Consider the story of the heavy stone that we all carry. The stone labeled with our desires and our fears of failure. Napoleon would tell you to use every ounce of your strength to roll that stone up the steepest mountain, to prove that nothing is beyond your reach. But the Buddha looks at the man struggling with the stone and asks a single, quiet question. Why are you carrying it? In the wisdom of the East, the word impossible does not exist, but neither does the word conquer. There is only the realization that the world is a river, and we are but leaves floating upon its surface. When we fight the current, we exhaust ourselves, believing that our will can change the flow of the water. But when we let go, when we surrender the need to control the direction of the stream, we find that the river carries us exactly where we need to be. This is the art of winning by letting go, a concept that feels foreign to the Western mind, that has been trained to equate peace with the end of a long struggle. Here, peace is not the prize at the end of the war. Peace is the decision to walk off the battlefield altogether. The Buddha speaks of the second arrow. The first arrow is the pain that life inevitably brings, the obstacles and the setbacks that we call impossible. But the second arrow is the one we shoot into ourselves, the suffering we create by resisting what is, by demanding that the world conform to our plans. The conqueror spends his life trying to stop the first arrows from falling, while the sage simply learns to stop shooting the second. Imagine the difference in your own heart as you lie here, between the tension of a closed fist and the softness of an open palm. The closed fist can hold onto a sword, but it cannot feel the coolness of the breeze or the texture of the air. To the Buddhist mind, the Dictionary of Fools is not the book of those who fail, but the book of those who believe they are separate from the world they are trying to master. When you realize that you are not the storm, but the sky in which the storm happens, the word impossible loses its teeth. The mountain does not try to be tall, it simply is. The flower does not strive to bloom. It unfolds when the conditions are right. There is a profound, quiet power in this kind of acceptance, a strength that is far more durable than the brittle fire of the ego. The ego wants to leave a mark on the world, to build monuments that last forever. But the wisdom of the heart knows that everything is impermanent, and in that impermanence is our greatest freedom. If nothing lasts, then no failure is final, and no obstacle is an enemy. The walls we face are often built of our own thoughts, and when we stop feeding those thoughts with our attention, the walls begin to dissolve like salt in water. Let the image of the great conqueror and the silent teacher sit side by side in your mind for a moment. One represents the path of the sun, bright, burning, and demanding. The other represents the path of the moon, reflective, gentle, and pulling the tides without effort. You have lived much of your life by the sun, driving yourself toward the impossible until your spirit is parched. Now, let the moonlight of this ancient wisdom wash over you. There is nothing to fix, nothing to change, and nowhere else you need to be. The concept of Wu Wei, or effortless action, teaches us that the most effective way to live is to align ourselves with the natural rhythm of existence. It is the tree that bends in the wind that survives the storm, while the rigid oak, standing in its proud defiance of the impossible, is the one that snaps. As you breathe, feel the rigidity in your own mind beginning to bend, becoming supple and receptive. You are letting go of the need to be the hero of a grand tragedy. You are becoming the witness of a beautiful, quiet truth. The fire of ambition is a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. And tonight, we are letting the master rest. The scent of the gunpowder and the ink of the maps have been replaced by the smell of damp earth and the coolness of the night air. The struggle of the modern world, the pressure to conquer the impossible, is revealed to be a dream from which you are now waking. In this awakening, you find that the peace you were looking for was never at the top of the mountain you were climbing. It was in the breath you were holding while you climbed. The Buddha does not ask you to be more. He invites you to be less, to peel away the layers of should and must until you reach the core of your being, which is already whole, already perfect, and already at rest. The silence that follows this realization is not empty. It is full of a deep, resonant belonging. You are not a soldier in a hostile world. You are a part of the vast, interconnected web of life, and the universe does not ask the waves to be anything other than water. Let the weight of the impossible dissolve into the simplicity of being. The struggle is over, not because you won, but because you realized there was no enemy to begin with. The garden is quiet, the stars are distant and soft, and the path forward is not a climb, but a gentle walk home. Now, the garden and the study, the conqueror and the monk, begin to fade into a soft indigo haze. The stories are over, the lessons are done, the words are slowly turning into whispers, and the whispers are turning into the sound of your own quiet breath. Let the history and the philosophy drift away, like autumn leaves falling onto the surface of a still pond, creating ripples that grow wider and wider until they vanish into the mirrored depths. There is no more Napoleon, no more struggle, no more dictionary, and no more impossible. There is only the cool, dark air in your room and the gentle weight of your body resting against the earth. Imagine the tension leaving your toes, drifting out like fine sand through an hourglass. Feel the stillness moving up through your legs, a slow, warm wave of relaxation that turns everything it touches into liquid peace. The muscles in your back are loosening, unfolding like the petals of a flower at night, letting go of the burdens they have carried through the day. Your shoulders are dropping away from your ears, sinking deep into the softness beneath you, as if the very ground were rising up to hold you. There is nothing you need to hold on to anymore. Let your hands open, completely relaxed, the fingers curling naturally, empty of tools and empty of tasks. The rhythm of your breathing is becoming slower, a steady rise and a gentle fall, like the tide reaching for the shore and then pulling back into the vast, dark ocean. Let the thoughts of tomorrow dissolve before they can even form, becoming mist that vanishes in the moonlight. Your jaw is soft, your eyes are heavy, and the space between your brows is smooth and clear. Every breath you take is a surrender, a quiet agreement with the night that it is okay to let go. Imagine yourself floating on a calm sea, the water cradling you, the stars above, watching over you with a soft, distant light. You are drifting further and further away from the shore of doing, moving deeper into the ocean of being. The silence is a blanket, warm and protective, wrapping around your mind and hushing the last echoes of the world. You are safe. You are still. The word impossible has no meaning here, for there is nothing to achieve and nowhere to go. You are simply a part of the night, a part of the silence, a part of the deep, restorative dark. Let the darkness be a comfort, a gentle void where the soul goes to rest and renew itself. Your breath is a lullaby, a soft hum in the center of your chest, growing quieter with every passing second. The world is at peace, and you are at peace with the world. Sinking deeper now, floating further. The light is dimming, the air is cool, the rest is here. Softly now, slowly now, quietly now. Just the breath, just the night, just the sleep, 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 sleep.